Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Magistrate Estelle de Lange says Dr. Nandipha Magudumana played a huge role in helping her lover Thabo Bester escape. This emerged during her bail application in the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court. The disgraced doctor will remain in custody after the court rejected her bail application. Magudumana is charged with assisting an inmate to escape from lawful custody, violation of a dead body and defeating the ends of justice. Nthabiseng Dubazana from Dubazana Attorneys is here to provide some more analysis on this matter. Nthabiseng, thank you so much for joining us here on the late edition. Did you expect her to be denied bail? It was a very lengthy bail application. Was this what you expected?
Definitely, I didn't see any way out of the situation. I didn't see how the court would have granted her bail in this situation, mainly because in the manner in which the defense attorneys argued in terms of how they wanted the court to view the bail application. Essentially, they wanted the court to firstly disregard the schedule in which the matter falls under, which didn't make any sense to me, because you agreed on the schedule yourself and read out the affidavit in terms of that schedule. So there was already a problem for me. I didn't understand how they were trying to connect what you said in your affidavit with the heads of argument themselves.
And of course, something coming out from that bail judgment today is indeed the matter of her being a flight risk, and how Magistrate de Lange actually highlighted that Nandipha Magudumana moved in between 3 countries without her passport. Surely this was always going to count against her.
100%. The fact that the defense attorneys were informing the court that the accused person has handed over the passport, we already know for a fact so far that indeed she has traveled between South Africa, Tanzania, and a third country. It escapes my mind at this moment. And at that time, she wasn't using her passport. So she has means and opportunity for her to travel without the passport being there, which already puts her right at the top as a high risk flight risk person at this stage. So it was going to count against her in any event.
And Nthabiseng, also something I wanted to touch on is, the issue of her claiming that she was kidnapped by her lover, Thabo Bester. And of course, the magistrate there saying that there is no evidence to prove that. One would say that, the magistrate even went out to say that in the evidence, it clearly shows what was taking place and what was underway, and she, even knew where she was going.
You see, the problem with her bail application is that the defense realize, or should know at least, that the onus rests on them to prove that it is indeed within the interest of justice that the accused is released on bail, right? Now, with that in mind, with your bail application, the affidavit you're going to read it's your founding information, the basis in which your application is going to be based on. So whatever you're going to say in your affidavit, when you do your heads of argument, they must marry each other, they must make sense. So the affidavit said one thing, and then the bail application went straight to the side, which did not marry to each other. So that is where I believe they lost it. Had the heads of argument said something that relates to the affidavit itself, would not be in this position. Possibly, she could possibly have been released on very tight restrictions, but this is not what happened. So for me, I don't understand how the defense attorneys decided to bring in evidence that was not part of the bail application in itself.
One would ask, if you are saying that, clearly here the evidence that they brought before the court was contradicting, the actual case, why did they even bother to bring this application if, it seems as if they were digging a hole for themselves?
Your guess is as good as mine. I think when the affidavit, the founding affidavit or the bail affidavit in this situation, when they argued the fact that she was removed from the country without her consent and all of that, had they not mentioned the High Court application in the middle of all of that, they probably could have tried to pull the sympathy or the empathy of the court in this situation. But then they went and mentioned the High Court matter. And the High Court matter has been done and dusted. I believe it's in the SCA right now. So we're waiting to hear what the SCA is going to say. But at this stage, the High Court has already said that they have no grounds to prove that she was extradited illegally, which means that she did not want to voluntarily bring herself back to the country. So why then are you saying that you were kidnapped and removed from the country without your consent? So it doesn't make sense how we got to this situation.
Nthabiseng, let's move on now to another court matter. Of course, we saw the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial continuing with Constable Zungu back on the stand. And it seems as if, a bone of contention here was the issue around the statement or the statements that existed or not. What do you make of today's proceedings, particularly in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial?
It is actually quite concerning. Here's the situation when we deal with criminal matters. When we get to the stage of disclosure, the state is supposed to give us all the evidence, this is the defense attorney, all the evidence that they're going to rely on while they proceed with the matter. That way we are able to take this information to our clients so that they can give us a version of events based on the statements that are there. Now, in this situation, we're having a state witness who doesn't have an affidavit or a statement, and then wherever knows that we're there, they were shredded. So what are we basing all of this on? How am I supposed to now cross-examine or ask certain questions of this witness wherein I have no basis on these questions? All I'm hearing is viva voce evidence before me, and I don't have anything to test it against. That for me is a major problem, but the court doesn't seem to understand or see it as a problem, which also is very worrying.
And what are your expectations for the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial, going into this week?
I was hoping that we will get clarity on a lot of things. I mean, Constable Zungu specifically was able to point out certain accused persons by virtue of knowing them prior to the event actually happening. So that was already a strong situation for the state, because we were like, okay, if you knew them before, then it's easy for you to point them out in a lineup or in pictures that connected them to the murder of the deceased. But now, as we are going on further and further, he doesn't even know things about perjury, which is a very simple crime. I don't know how he can't answer such a question. We're dealing with a situation that he was writing notes on his own at home so that he can have something to refer to. So already I'm beginning to wonder, why were we even adjourning this matter in the first place to Monday so that we can get statements in order to verify what he's saying? I'm sure that the state was pretty aware that there's nothing that they can rely this on, but they still prepared heads of argument regardless, which for me did not make any sense.
Nthabiseng, always a pleasure talking to you here on the Late Edition. Thank you so much. That is Nthabiseng Dubazana from Dubazana Attorneys.